with my colleague Heber, and we will be talking through English and using sport in the classroom um, to teach your students English through sport. So, without further ado, as always, you'll get a certificate of participation of this webinar and handout worksheets that we've got for you. If you don't receive the certificate, the webinar handouts, email us at formazione@mlaworld.com and we will send those out to you. So, just to introduce today's topic, we're talking about sport and how it can be helpful in the English classroom. So, sport is a universal language which most of our students come into contact with in their everyday lives. It can be a powerful tool for English language learning. Okay, the students can work in teams. It promotes communication, active participation in the lessons, naturally introduces vocabulary and expressions and some idioms, which Heber is going to go on to talk about in a few moments, and structures related to action, competition, and strategy more generally. For teenagers, as I said, they come into sports generally in their everyday life. So it can connect language learning with some of their passions, whether it be football, basketball, the Olympics, athletics. Those of you who are joining us from Milan or Lombardia, you have the Winter Olympics coming up, I think at the end of February, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. So this will be a good opportunity to introduce some winter sports into the classroom whilst the Olympics are taking place in Lombardia. Um, but from a language learning perspective, it can boost motivation, okay, and creativity, confidence. The students are more able, more confident in talking about sports that they watch on the TV, that they go to the stadiums to watch. So it can be a topic, a context in which the students feel comfortable using English, even if they're gamers. Okay, they will communicate online, playing games online as well, which is another good kind of avenue to go down. So the classroom can be made into quite a dynamic one where the students are perhaps acting out sports and the students have to guess or use vocabulary to what they're seeing. So it can be quite a dynamic space in the classroom as well. And like I said, it introduces vocabulary. Some will be familiar, some will be unfamiliar. And yeah, it's used to connect cultures, languages from around the world. So hopefully by the end of this session, you will be able to use sports themed vocabulary games, idioms, vocabulary games, and activities to boost students' confidence and language retention. Hopefully be able to design creative speaking tasks to develop fluency and confidence. So we've got a few of those at the end of the webinar, which you'll be able to see, and integrate the students' general interests in sport into meaningful and communicative English lessons. So at this moment, I'm going to pass over to Heber, and Heber will go through some vocabulary games, some idioms, and we have a short video for you to all watch and get involved in as well. So Heber, after you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So we're going to talk about sports vocabulary games. The first one is sports word association. So what you do is you activate existing vocabulary and you introduce new terms in a fun activity. You could write the name of the sport on the board, basketball, soccer, football, whatever you want, hockey. Students would quickly ask them to shout out related words or phrases. You could divide them into, you could do columns on the board and write equipment, places, player, actions, rules, adjectives, events, and then have the students call out each one of those um, and make it turn it into a game. Kids love it when you gamify things, and this would turn it a bit into a game. Um, this is basically just in the beginning to activate their prior knowledge. And then after that, you could start adding in words, or you could have them do some research by themselves and or in pairs or groups. And you could keep filling that in until you have a board full of vocabulary that they can use. Okay, another one is guess the sport. So you practice vocabulary and descriptions. A good follow on from the previous activity. They can do this after that. They could prepare cards with the names of sports or Olympic events. Student describes the sport without saying its name. You throw a ball in a hoop. It's played indoors. Players run across a wide field. They have to ride a horse, for example, while they do it. The rest of the class guesses. We focus on using action verbs, equipment, and locations. You can switch it up by making a list of taboo words they can't be used. So pick common words that they use a lot and then tell them you cannot use these words. You could write them in red on the board or something. Or you could ask them to only use verbs or adjectives or equipment.
Oh, sorry, you could also mime the sport as well. So this is what I was talking about with the dynamic classroom. So you can get the students to act out the sport, and then the students have to shout associated actions or words related to this. So it's not just something that builds on vocabulary, you kind of sat down and just have to think. They can actually get up and kind of act out the sport, which I think helps, especially kind of visual learners, kinesthetic learners. So we're kind of differentiating the classroom for those types of learners as well. Heather?
Someone suggested in the chat a website called Word Art that they use to create lessons like this.
Okay.
And that sounds like it would be very interesting. Thank you for that suggestion, Sylvia. Okay, sports idioms. So English has a lot of idioms that come from sports. Some are related to sports that are familiar to other cultures, like football, like move the goalposts, or boxing, like throw in the towel. To throw in the towel means, for example, to stop doing something. So you've thrown in the towel means you've given up or you've stopped doing something. And that comes from boxing. Others are from less familiar sports like cricket, and the expression is a sticky wicket. We've also made a worksheet that you can use in class with idioms, definitions and examples to match. We will play a short video that explains this a little more.
First of all, before I play the video, Heather, as a British person, I'm familiar with cricket. Do you know what the idiom "a sticky wicket" means?
No, I don't actually.
No, it means when you're in a difficult situation. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm in a sticky wicket. I mean, I don't actually play cricket, so I don't know what it means in cricket, but the context in English usage is when you're in a difficult situation. So yeah, anybody in the chat, if you've got any English idioms that you know of that you've used before, that the students have used, feel free to pop those into the chat, and then we'll call out some of the ones that get placed in there. But yeah, as Heather said, we've got a short video of some idioms. So let's see if you can guess the three idioms which are going to be shown in this video. Okay, so there were three idioms from the BBC Learning website. The link is just below, but it will be in the handout as well. So if you didn't manage to catch all three of those, you can go on the link in the handout you'll be given um, at the end of this webinar. Heather, have we had any idioms in the chats?
Yes, actually, there is be on the ball. The
Hmm.
ball is in your court.
Hmm.
Dropping the ball. Those are the
Hmm.
ones we have in the chat now.
Cool, perfect. Drop the ball is quite a good one. Okay, so I'll be talking a little bit about fusion sports. What I want to say before I go into the sports part of this specifically is that you can do fusion something with kind of anything. So if you have a class which isn't particularly disposed to sports, you can do fusion food, you can do fusion jobs, and things like this. So this doesn't only relate to the sports aspect, but it works well with sports because it's quite creative and quite fun. So in task-based learning, which is what we use at MLA. This is a good task-based activity where the students get to invent a new sport, or as I said, if it's food, they can invent a new dish, or if it's jobs, they can invent a new job, based on two or more existing sports in this context. So it focuses on kind of creativity and speaking in their groups rather than focusing on kind of the actual logistics of a sport. It's about being fun, imaginative, and yeah, creative. So you can see on the right-hand side, extreme ironing. Which looks fairly extreme to me. The most extreme thing I do with an iron is turn it on, which isn't, I don't do that frequently. But so we're going to look through the stages of how to build a lesson of fusion sport. So the first stage, quickly brainstorm favorite sports and their characteristics. Okay, so this could be sports like football, basketball, swimming, hockey, paddle. Um, Also, maybe some more obscure sports like, I don't know, horse riding, fencing, things like this. So the wider the scope that the students provide you, the better, because they can get more creative, a bit more silly with the sports that they can fuse together. Um, next stage, when once we've got this collection of sports, is to divide the students into small groups or pairs if you've got a small class, and then challenge them. So combine two or more sports to invent a new sport. And then the students should be thinking about things like the name of the sport, the rules that this sport should have, listing the equipment, and explain how points are scored. So we're looking at kind of, especially with equipment, kind of vocabulary. They're going to be using a helmet, a bat, a ball. They need a net or a hoop. Do they need a track, a field, a court? Okay, so this is quite a good way to get the students to build on vocabulary they've already know, they already have, in a more fun, creative way. Oh, and highlight the skills, obviously. So you need to be tall, or maybe you need to be quick. So some good adjectives here for the students to think about. Okay, so we've got football, tennis on the right-hand side, something I'm slightly more familiar with than extreme ironing. And then the next phase of the lesson is the planning and then language
Can
support.
people play this football tennis?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think yeah, in if you're playing with like a team, you'll do like a training session, and then this will be fairly common, I would imagine. The same in the UK, in Italy, in anywhere that football is played, I would imagine. So yeah, this
Not in the
is
US.
pardon.
Not in the US.
No, not in the US. They play a different kind of football.
Mhm.
But yeah, the next phase, the planning, language support. So do provide some sentence frames for scaffolding, okay? Especially if you have a group of students, a class who maybe are not so sports inclined, maybe their language level is quite low. So give them some sentence starters for them to expand upon. So some of those could be in our sport, players must. Points are scored by, the game is played in or on. and the winner is the team that. So then the students can then build from this. So the winner is the team that scores the most goals, completes the course in the quickest time, um, hits the ball the furthest. Okay, so we can bring different kind of elements with these sentence starters. And then obviously as the teacher, you go around the groups and you monitor the language and you help with any vocabulary difficulties that the students are having, grammar, and even phrasing. So like word order. You would assist the students with. And then at the end, the presentation. So the students present their new fusion sport, okay, and then we encourage others to ask questions. So how many players are there? Is it a team sport? Is it individuals? Are you in pairs? What happens if somebody breaks the rules? This is probably something the students may not consider. So it could get them to think kind of quickly about what does happen if somebody breaks the rules. Do they get a penalty? Is it a yellow card? Do they get a goal taken off them? Do they have to go and sit in like a penalty box where they can't participate for the next 5 or 10 minutes? So it's very fun. The students should be thinking creatively, and then for a bit of competition, as Heber said, students love gamifying. So if we can get the students to vote on the most original or the funniest or the most dangerous sport, that could it could throw up some interesting ideas, I would imagine. And then you can also switch it up. Oh, sorry. So make the students create an instruction manual or even create a short video so they could act out the sport as well. So these are just some ideas for fusion sports. And like I said, it doesn't have to come in a sports context. You can do this for other kind of topics as well. Okay, this is one that I'm particularly fond of. So the sports commentator. So you show the students a video of a sports action. Okay, it could be Novak Djokovic playing tennis. It could be Lionel Messi with football, Charles Leclerc, Formula One. And then you get the students to commentate on what they are seeing. Okay, so this encourages speaking fluency. Okay, they need to be speaking quite quickly, commenting on what's happening in real time, and a creative use of vocabulary. So we all know that sports commentators like to exaggerate certain things and get the viewers at home involved. So this is quite a good way for the students to kind of yeah, get a bit more creative again in the English classroom. Uh, so another thing which is beneficial to this for this as well is that you can also get the students to adjust their register, okay, with this. So you can ask them to commentate in a particular way, okay? So they can maybe speak formally or they can use slang. And then that would change how the students will commentate. You can also look at kind of like intonation or even like feeling. So let's say that the students are commentating on a goal scored against their team. So then they would commentate probably in a more subdued, in a more disappointed way. And then you can ask them to commentate again on a particular action in support of that action. So again, the team will probably be more excited, a bit happier, and things like this. So it adds a bit of excitement, a bit of humor potentially. They can predict as well what they think is going to happen afterwards. Um, and if there is no video available, if you're not able to play a video in the classroom, then you can get the students again to act it out in a mini live game. So they can dribble, they can pass, they can shoot into a hoop, they can maybe play tennis. I don't know how that would be in a classroom, but as long as it's safe, we can get them to be a bit more physical, a bit more dynamic with this activity as as well. And then you can get them to reverse. So one has done the commentary in a sad way, then the other one has to do it in a happy way, like I mentioned. Um, So again, like I said, it increases creativity, humor, and gets the students maybe thinking in a way that they wouldn't usually think of, which is also good. It gets them out of their kind of comfort zone a little bit. But then also, if they do play sports, then a lot of the vocabulary will be known to them, so they can use the vocabulary that they've just picked up through watching the sports naturally and use that in a more confident way. They're applying a language more confidently without them even kind of realizing that they're doing it. So this is a good way to get a little bit of fun out of the classroom. Heather, have we had anything in the chat with regards to fusion or commentating?
People are very happy with the word commentate
Oh,
because
okay.
it is a new word. It's not a very common word.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and it's I mean, a commentator is a noun. It's a job role that somebody has, but then also uh, they are commentating, so it's also a verb in the action. So, and it's literally they are commenting on what they are seeing. So it's a very good way of introducing this as a noun, right? And as a verb. So I guess even just this broadens their
Vocabulary.
vocabulary. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So quite a short webinar today, but I hope you found it helpful. And as we said at the outset, sport is a powerful motivator, especially when you have sporting events that are happening at the time. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the Winter Olympics happening in Italy, I think in February. I could be wrong. It'd be a good way to introduce sport in the classroom quite naturally because it will be on television, on the radio, on podcasts. In that moment, obviously we have the World Cup later on this year if Italy qualify. I think Egypt has, Heather. Am I right?
Yep. I think
And
so, yeah.
yeah, and the England's definitely have. So yeah, when the football is on, the Football World Cup, another good way to introduce football into the classroom. Like we saw with Heber with the vocabulary games to kind of get them using vocabulary in a more creative way, speaking tasks, sports themed activities to help build fluency. And then, like I've said a few times, we can make it active, student centered, imaginative, okay, whether they're inventing a new sport, commentating on a match, or if they're learning through play as well. We can obviously within reason, we can maybe act out the sport and then you can introduce new words like throw and kick to more lower level learners. So, your homework, your challenge is to try one sports-based activity this week. You've only have Friday, so let's do it from today until the next webinar. And let us know in the next webinar how it transformed the classroom. Did engagement, excitement, get promoted through doing a sports-based activity? Of course, as always, we welcome suggestions for future webinars. So if you do have some ideas that you'd like us to cover in future sessions, do pop them into the chat right now, and then we can consider and think about how we can build future webinars based on these suggestions. The next webinar is next Thursday, shock, on making error correction fun. And as I said at the outset, as always, you'll get a certificate of participation, handout, links, worksheets for this webinar. If you do not receive that, email us at formazione@mlaworld.com and we will get that sent out to you. Thank you again, as always, for your participation. Hope you enjoyed this webinar and we'll see you all again next week. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.